Hello, I'm Brendan, and welcome to Personality Epistemology. So in this video, I want to invite taking a look at my layout process. I have this screen here set up where this is actually this is one layout here, and then I have just a bunch of different items sort of pieced together. And first of all, to sort of intro, I have this from TV tropes, this trope "at the crossroads" printed out, and so what it says is, just like bridges, crossroads often feature as the setting for portentous happenings. There's something symbolic about the often ancient intersection of two paths that gets people's imaginations going. Often they are used to represent the intersection between two worlds. Crossroads also tend to represent places where a character can make a life-changing decision, especially if there is conflict over which path to take. And so this trope represents my life in a lot of ways, in an ongoing way. A lot of times, at the crossroads is something that happens maybe a few times in a story, or one time, or a few times in a person's life. And I've come to a place where, it's kind of like Dante in the Dark Wood of Error, the first level of Inferno. It opens, I forget the exact wording, but it's like I'm in a situation where all of my time is completely saturated and overwhelmed with different priorities, and what's going on is kind of a long story, but I'm working to coordinate survivable circumstances for several people in particular, and I'm thinking of this also from a macro angle and in between, with so many people in high stakes life and death situations, even just in terms of what's described as deaths of despair happening so many times per day, even just in the United States, let alone around the world. And a lot of times this isn't really considered like cinematic moments, but it is, and they're happening all the time in parallel, like live. And so this is part of how I've come to understand the world, is in terms of all these things going on in many different places. I don't know the total specifics of most of them, but a lot of them can be like assumed, or they're happening. So one of my goals here is to generate sort of tools for making sense of and navigating complex, high stakes, overwhelming situations and periods of time in people's lives. Right above the video of me here, I have this little sort of coupon sticker thing that says "a run on my time." And I came up with this concept in 2011, where I was just completely overwhelmed. At the lower center of the screen, there's I'll make it larger. This is from 2011, and so I had extreme mental, neurological, neurophysical sort of tension or pressure, and I translated that into sketching out things like this pressure diagram, and I wrote chaos capture and context capture in the context of that moment in time, and this is titled Time, Talent, Money Collision. So it's kind of like this, it's like needing to make money, having all kinds of different things to do, and knowing doing things. I mean, I put talent here. It's not just talent, but it's like expertise and abilities, and also challenges. And so it's like there's all angles pressure, sort of like the song Surface Pressure, or Billy Joel's song Pressure, and Queen and David Bowie's song Under Pressure, kind of all together. And I have here plot coupon from TV tropes. So I'm interested to invite people who are watching into considering life as a story, and I'm looking to provide some tools that make possible what Jeff Gomez talks about as the collective journey, where people can participate and potentially change the story, even just through interacting. So then what else do I have here? So I have this reference to what's called the knapsack problem in mathematics, and basically it's like how many different items can you put in a knapsack, and there's different ways to do this, but I think of this in terms of how I'm piecing together items into a layout. There's like only so much space in a layout, whatever the size is, and so it's like I've put together a bunch of key references. And then also here above the video of me, I have at the top title of this article, Dynamics and Ethics of Triage, Rationing Care in Hard Times, and Triage Trauma and Moral Distress. And this idea, confessions of regret are not enough. So I associate this with a lot of times people are faced with decisions where there's not enough resources or time, and then it's like who to focus on or what to focus on. And this can lead to moral injury when people are dying meanwhile, or enduring suffering or injury. And so that's going on in a number of situations I know about. People, different things going on situationally that can be remedied through, like, if I could access a solid amount of money and a team to step through these things, a lot of these situations could be transformed, and I believe this could apply to a lot of situations. And so many people are familiar with playing video games, like multiplayer video games, where people work with others to accomplish an objective. And so I'm interested in applying this to real life situations that are usually just, it's too overwhelming, too complicated, and so it just goes unaddressed. And so, I mean, whether it's just me, or just me and people I know, or coordinating teams with more people, and then there's also the question of what to focus on and how to use time in each day. So, what else do I have here? I have a photo of me as a baby with my dad, and I use this as a reference, kind of with this life is story thing, just to put in context and reflect what's happened then. And I have a photo of my brother and I, probably age 10 or so, and my dad's a cultural anthropologist, so what I'm doing in part is what I call epistemic autoethnography, which it basically just means understanding culture or people, both in the context of thinking about knowledge and how do people frame the world and situations and so on. So I could step through the rest of this layout, or I could describe some of the situations I'm trying to coordinate. That's the thing, though. It's like I'm constantly or recurrently, frequently in these moments of like, well, what do I do now? And then so with a conversation, same thing. And so I have a reference here to Michael Wesch's online class, Anth 101, and I overlap that with this title of this book, Epistemic Fluency and Professional Education, which is about a different approach to professional education than is usually covered. I mean, the book also covers general principles of professional education, and yet it weaves in, the book weaves in, the authors weave in things like taking into account context, inner and outer context, and so on. And I have a few photos of myself from video I took at different points. They kind of represent sort of moments of reflection and anticipation. I have a reference to this book, Neurotheology, and this topic, and let's see where to begin. But basically, where to go next. And then I have this Find the Future reference, which is a reality game put together by Jane McGonigal. So that's part of what I'm trying to do, is connect story and sort of game, but more like story approach to figuring things out. And so I have a reference to Johnny Cash's song Ring of Fire here, and this song from the musical Hamilton, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, and a reference to this article, Artography and the Medium of the Comic Book. And so all of these kind of, in my mind, connect to all these other things. And yeah, words can only move so quickly, and that's part of why I've taken to making these layouts that reference a lot of different things. And I have a reference to this article on accountability and accountabilities and the interconnection between different things in the context of what's called social and environmental accounting. So part of what I'm trying to do is be accountable, and in a sense that draws together several different frameworks for accountability, including how I'm looking at it is in a generative way, like where like mistakes or errors and so on are certainly part of it, but it's a lot of it is focusing on what to do in a positive sense, and what to pursue and focus on, and how to evaluate that. And then kind of in the lower center here I have a handwritten layout I made, which references all these things like identity, Jessie J's song Who You Are, and the concept of anticipation, and so on, and liminal states and scenes. So I guess I'm going to keep this kind of short, but I just want to put this up, and I welcome any questions or input. I mean, it would be valuable to do this, and if people have questions, I can make more videos that answer the questions. If anyone else is familiar with doing similar sort of knowledge integration, I'm interested to work with that, and I want to bridge what I'm doing here with conversations on personality YouTube and so on. And yeah, I guess I'll just I guess I'll wrap it up here. although I'll add one more thing. I mean, one reference I have here is the song Mr. Wendell by Arrested Development, and this references basically how people who are just written off by everyone, or by most people, often do have knowledge, and I have knowledge, and I'm interested to like figure out a way to monetize knowledge work in this sort of integrative macro and macro through micro sort of way. And I also have the reference to the concept of decision support systems, and there's a lot more on here, but I will wrap this up here, and comments welcome, and I'm still kind of evolving a format here. Input welcome, and all of that. So I'll reflect on this and upload it and see what next.